Remember when we talked about the procurement planning as part of your, execution strategy? So now let's talk about the procurement cost control. Procurement cost control focuses on ensuring that the expenses related to the vendors and suppliers are managed effectively. Remember that the effective cost management mitigates the financial risks in all of the aspects of the project, especially in the procurement phase. Also, let's say that the contract terms and conditions plays a vital and critical role in the cost control. For example, here let's take in an example of a large-scale IT project. Controlling the cost of software license and cloud services is vital to prevent the budget overruns. A robust procurement strategy aligns these costs with the project budget, ensuring the financial stability of your project. How to manage the vendors and supplier costs. Managing vendors and supplier costs involve regular monitoring and proactive adjustment. So you as a project manager ensure that you have a regular monitoring to vendor performance and the cost adherence to the terms and conditions of your contract with the vendors or suppliers. You also have to have this negotiation skills to negotiate better terms to optimize the spendings. Ensure the payment schedules align with the cash flow plans. This is how you can manage the vendors and suppliers' costs in a more effective way. Also, you need to understand these, contract types and the cost implication. Remember when we were talking about the procurement, and we already have discussed type of contracts that determines how the procurement costs are managed. When we talked about the fixed price contract, which minimize the financial uncertainty. We also talked about the time and material contract, which require a close cost tracking. Also, the cost plus contract, which can increase the overall expenses. So ensure that you as a project manager select the appropriate, contract based on the project requirement, uncertainty, the risks, and all of these aspects. Based on that, you can select one of these types to ensure that you have an effective cost control and deliver the intended outcomes of your project, considering the financial aspect of the project. Let's take here an example of a fixed price contract in an energy project, which has guaranteed that the supplier would observe the material price fluctuations. However, let's say in a time and materials contract, it requires, a strong tracking and regular tracking to prevent the additional costs, highlighting the need of careful contract selection. How to, control the procurement related cost variances. So, controlling the procurement related cost variances begins with identifying their causes or the root cause. So, you need to analyze the cost variances or identify the root causes of these variances. You need also to address the supplier delays and quality issues promptly, since you are paying the contract, cost. You need to address all of these delays and quality issues promptly to ensure that you have a good renegotiation with the supplier or with the vendor. You may also utilize the contingency reserves to manage these unexpected procurement costs. What are the tools that can be used to control the procurement costs? Tools like the procurement management software and the EVM, which provide insights to the procurement costs and performance, can be one of these important tools to ensure that you have an effective cost control over your procurement costs. Also, implement these vendor dashboards for transparency. You, as a project manager, and the stakeholders and the team can know what exactly current spending of the project and what is, the EAC and the ETC of the project in terms of its costs. These dashboards and tracking the supplier expenses can enable the team to quickly, let's say, identify and address any variances, ensuring the procurement costs remain within the budget. Let's look at one of these case studies where the procurement cost management control in action. Let's say here we have a scenario where renewable energy project, the procurement cost overruns has threatened the budget. This is the scenario that we are dealing with. So managing the procurement costs in a renewable energy project, and it has a cost overruns which has threatened the project budget. You as a project manager, you need to follow this approach by consolidating the vendor contracts and streamline the payment schedules and ensures that you identify all of these root causes of the cost overruns and let's say applying a corrective actions to avoid these let's say root causes to happen in the future. By following these steps, the project team can achieve a reduction in the procurement expenses. This proactive approach ensures that the project stays on track financially. Let's now look at one of these best practices for the procurement cost control. The best practices for the procurement cost control, including the, let's say, setting a clear budget and objectives, while fostering a strong supplier relationships. Also, you as a project manager, as one of your responsibility, you need to have a regular review and adjust the procurement strategies to ensure that you're not, let's say, having any budget overruns or say schedule delays. But here in our case, we are talking about the procurement costs. So ensure that you say have a close and a regular review on the spendings of the project and the other key, let's say, indicators to ensure that you have, let's say, a stable project financially. When it comes to effective communication, as we mentioned many times, it's very critical when dealing with the suppliers and vendor or for the procurement cost control process. You as a project manager, you need to provide the stakeholders with regular updates on procurement expenses to avoid any, let's say, surprises in the future. You need to keep all of these stakeholders aligned with the current spendings, with the current, let's say, the actual cost of your procurement, so they can you can enhance the trust between you and the stakeholders, and you can build strong relationship with these stakeholders. Also, you need to highlight the areas of concerns and propose solutions. May agree with the vendors to or the suppliers to utilize these visual aids or the visual dashboards like the graphs and these metrics to ensure that you as a project manager have the clarity. Also, you can communicate the same to the project stakeholders in a real time. What are the common challenges that you might face as a project manager when doing or controlling the cost in procurement? These challenges in procurement cost control includes the market price fluctuations, supplier performance issues. Also, you might face these challenges when trying to align the procurement expenses with the changing project needs. So in case of that your project was supposed to do one, two, three, four, then there is an additional requirement or additional needs by the project or by the stakeholders, and you need to let's say to align the procurement strategy with these additional requirements or additional needs. So you need to realign the procurement expenses with the changing project needs. Let's take here an example in an IT deployment project. Let's say there is a sudden spike in the hardware costs due, let's say, the fluctuation on the prices of these hardwares or logistics issues, which has required the team to reallocate the budget and renegotiate the bulk purchase discounts to with the vendors and suppliers to minimize the financial stern. And to summarize our session on procurement cost control, we say that the procurement cost control is vital for maintaining the project financial health. By managing the vendor costs, selecting appropriate contracts, the best type of contracts that meets your project requirements and needs, and utilizing these advanced tools, the visual tools and the project softwares, the project management softwares, the project managers can effectively control the procurement expenses